Hello coders, good morning. It is 7, well it's not even 7 o'clock, it's 6:55. This is how early I am. I hope everybody's well. We're going to do a bit of fixing today. I did a lot of work last night, and to be honest, well, I didn't run any tests. I didn't add any tests. I didn't do any tests. So we're gonna just see what I've broken. It all works from a clickable point of view. I was working on the social sign-on stuff for GitHub, and I have the majority of that working, which is nice, but I haven't actually ran any tests to see what I've broken. So we're going to dive in and do all that. And then if it all works, then we're going to move on with the other bits and pieces on the GitHub issues. So let's just get into the code here. First up, I need to do... yeah. First of all, I need to start the machine, right? There we go. And whilst this is booting up, this is I'll show you some of the things that I did yesterday. Well, some of the things I've done since the last stream, which was Sunday. So that, I did some work on Sunday evening, Monday evening. Yeah. Feels like there's been more evenings involved there, but so we've got this is the GitHub authenticator. Now before this was all working from a Gatsby site, of course. So now it's actually working on the PHP Symfony site. So this is the mechanism to deal with the authentication. If we do get user here, so it tries to find the user from the GitHub client. So this is where we've passed in our GitHub credentials, and then down here it checks whether you're an existing user, and if you are, you set the login time, and you associate that in there is the association between the existing user and the user, and then you do a save and flush. Sorry, no, it's not in there, is it? This is just simply getting the existing user, getting the setting the last login, and then saving and flushing on that. And then if you aren't an existing user, then it will grab the email, which is an interesting thing. I'll tell you why more later on. I'll just run through it in a minute. But the email, it was an interesting edge case. So if empty email, then we check if the user can be found by an existing email. So user get repository find by email. So we try and find the email. And then it's kind of the same deal. If we've got the user, then we set the last login and we assign the existing user. We pass in the GitHub user and the user, and we make the connection. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes there which do things with the GitHub profile to bring it into to the user account. But if that hasn't happened, then we attempt to create the user, and then we run through it. So this will create the user, GitHub user, as well as the normal user, and then pass that through. So, and there's a lot of work in here about mapping the GitHub profile to the user profile and all of that stuff. Okay, so let's evaluate the shell. Cool. Let's do docker ps-a. Oopsie. Docker ps-a. That's looking good. That's looking good. I'm going to just run the Selenium box. So docker compose up -d test. Let's just get that up and running. So let's do docker ps-a again. That should be now running, which it is, and that's all good. The only thing that's down is Redis. Why is Redis down? Is Redis down, or is it just my terminal being... No, I think so. That's the database. That is... Why is Redis down? That might be a problem. Let's do docker compose up -d. Bring them all up. Yeah, Redis was down. There we go. There we go. Okay. Everyone up? Everyone happy? Good. Apart from Node. But when is Node ever happy? So let's now let's run the tests. So make tests. Now this is going to do a lot of stuff, as you've probably seen before. It does the beautifier code. So I didn't do any of this last night whilst I was fiddling about with it all. And I was also fiddling about with the backend. So here we've got a problem with the two files. It was a PHP CBF result summary. So this is the beautifier code. It's already fixed those, so I just need to run the command again. And hopefully now it will just skip over them. Although it's saying that there's 2 remaining, that might be an issue. We'll see. Oh, okay. No, apparently that was okay. I'm not sure what that means. Nah. Okay. Well, it's past it, so it's past it. Hey, Medgel. This project is private. Yeah, so we've got some issues here. This project is private. However, it uses public, like How to Code Well has public repos that feed into it, if that makes sense. So, for example, all the code notes are public, and there's some other npm packages that I've released that are public. Okay, so here we have data fixtures, call to undefined method app set user. Oh yes, I fiddled about with that last night. So this would be in the fixtures. Let's just grab that. You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little bit half asleep. So let's grab that. And which line was it? L293. Yes, okay. So that can go. However, we do have to... So that was me removing the user from the GitHub user. Which is fine, but I need to set it the other way. So let's remove that. And then let's find out where this is called. There we go. Right, so we remove this. And then underneath... So does that return a GitHub user? Yes, it does. So GitHub user is equal to you. And then it is user. So this is setting up the fixtures in the for the testing. So set GitHub user. So I've done it the other way around. So at this point it's then GitHub user. And let me just eyeball this and make sure that that's wrong. Let me just double check something a minute. So that's the user. Where does the user get saved? It gets saved up here. That's a problem. No. It also gets saved again here. That should be okay. Set ID on the manager. Persist. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, let's run that again. I know we've got a problem here as well. Let's do be a bit proactive and look at that whilst I run the tests once more. Okay, so this is... Oh, let's do that again. Okay, this one is the set last login. So this one here, set last login, call to undefined method, user interface set last login. Are you going through all this stuff? Yeah, right, we'll probably find it in a minute. Error whilst parsing, HTML, unexpected token, user fixtures 20, column 5. That's what we were just playing with. Okay, so it's thrown up a load of other stuff. I'm interested in this one. Let me just see what this is about before we... It's always best to sort of start at the beginning, I think, sometimes. What was that all about? All right, see, this is why I like my tests, because it makes sure that I haven't done any silly mistakes. Okay, so whilst that's going through, let's see if we can capture one of these. Course enrollment fixture. Internal syntax error, unexpected user fixtures. That is the same deal as I've just fixed. That one and that one. And that one. Okay, and that would have been fixed as well. And that would have been fixed. All right, let's just wait for this to run through. Okay, there's only one here, which is our set last login. Okay, back to where it was. So this is an issue with the interface. Google Authenticator, call to undefined method, user interface, set last login. Let's just hunt through that and see. I might be able to use the concrete class rather than the interface. Let's have a look. Set last login is here. Aha, I can just do this. There we go. Right, let's just let's run that again. And then hopefully PHP Stan will be happy. I could have also, of course, added that to the user interface. That would have probably been wiser. A little bit of refactoring, maybe that is wise. So this returns a user interface, which is a user, and you can see I've gotten stupidly checked for the actual concrete rather than the interface, which is stupid of me. That's a design smell. I'm not liking this at all. Let's deal with these two bits. So set last name and set username. I don't think if we click on here, user interface, I don't think it extends the entity interface and it uses this interface. So that should be fine. So what were the two things that I needed to deal with? It was the setting of the last, the username. Whoa, magic mouse. Set last login and set username. Okay. I'm on the wrong file. I'm on the wrong file. There we go. Public function set login is a date time, and it returns a user interface, which I could just do self to be fair, but and there was another one, it was the username. That's a string, and this is a string, and this is the username. I think that's correct. Let me just check the actual concrete class. Am I screwing anything up there? No, good. So now we should be able to get rid of all of this. All this junk. If I can do my shortcut keys conflict query console. My shortcut keys have just stopped working. That's annoying. That looks good. Okay, let me see now. Let's do the make tests again. You can see that this is continued on, and it's done, what's this? My unit tests. Cleared the cache, checked the validation of the schema, database schema, and all that jazz. I'm going to run it again, just to rinse it through. We got an error here. Oh, let's do it again. I got an error here with the GitHub set user on the user test. Yeah, well, that shortcut key worked. It's just, I'm finding PHP Storm on this while streaming a little bit laggy. I think my machine is getting a little bit old, long in the tooth, I think. What am I doing? I am checking this, aren't I? Test set user. Test to defaults. Test set user. Here we go. There we are. Okay, so user. I just need to change this around. So this is user set. GitHub user is HTC GitHub user, and we can do user here. Well, okay. What am I testing? What am I? Actually, that's ridiculous. That's pointless. That's not I should be testing it on the other way around. That's what I should be doing. Let's do that now. Tests, unit, entity, User test. Yeah, let's put one down in here. Hey, Selectaze. Is it Selectaze? Selectaze. Thank you for joining today. I hope you're well. I hope you're good. So this is setting the GitHub user. So we're going to do user. So when we instantiate a new user, we set to active, we do this, we deal with this. We're also going to do HTC on, we're going to set that to active as true. And this test is just going to make sure that that can all be wired up correctly. So get HTC user and is active, that is true, yep. Okay, so that should sort that out. Again, PHP Stan is worrying about this. This because I've changed it to because I've changed it to the concrete class. Everything else is broken. Let's. I'm spinning plates. That's what I'm doing, or playing whack-a-mole. Playing whack-a-mole, I think, is probably the better analogy. We'll get there in the end. Is this the thing? Yeah, that is a file. Which line is it? 164. 164. There we go. So we need to change this. So this is requiring a user. Is that right? Yeah, it's using a user, which isn't correct. We need to pass that in as the user interface. But I need to ensure that that is the same dealio. For this, I don't think it is. No. If I was to change this to be user interface, how would this break? User interface. Doesn't look like it's broken a lot. Maybe we can get away with it. I'm not seeing any. What's that pink thing there? No, I'm not seeing any errors on the right hand side. Let's run it again. Trying to code well. Last night I was up very late, and I was like I said earlier, I was building a lot of stuff without any tests, and I didn't do any of this checking, which is why I'm in this position where I need to fix it all. Of course, I need to add that to the interface as well. This interface is getting too big for my liking. I think I need to create a new one, but I can do that. I can do that in a sort of a refactor sort of sprint thing. Set GitHub user is GitHub user, and we return the user interface. All right, let's see. User, just make sure that that's fine. Yep, that is good. Okay. Just getting rid of some of this stuff. Okay, so we know that some of the tests have passed. That's all good, apart from one, which we've adjusted. So I'm kind of hopeful now that we're going to. I'm kind of hopeful that we'll get through the unit tests, and we can start looking at the integration tests. I've set. I've got silly. Oh no. That's weird. Why is the database schema not in sync with the current mapping file? That to me smells like a bug. Let me dive into the container a second. find the shortcut keys. Reverse search back into eval because I need another shell, and let's jump into the container as bash, and let's do, I might be able to do a reverse search in here actually to diff. Yeah, we go. There we go. Migrations diff, and that will return or generate a migrations file, which I can then see. It ends in 600. So that would be up here in migrations world, which is in here, down here. All right, what have I just done? What have I done? So alter table GitHub user, drop the foreign key. Okay, drop the index key on. Oh wait, is this because I've tried to do a test and I haven't? Yeah, okay. Alter table. I reckon this is in here. Yeah. So this always catches me out. So what happens is when I do the integration tests, it drops the database, and then it does the test. It rebuilds the database, does the test. It then drops the database again, does the next test, because it needs to have the same stable sort of playing field, if that makes sense. So without actually having a backup of the test database, this is always going to be an issue. So what I need to do is delete this file. Off it goes. And I need to, there is a make file for this in here. What I need to do is a db test rebuild. So what this is doing is it's doing a db test load and then a db test backup. Test load runs this bin file here, which is up in here. So bin db rebuild. So db rebuild drops the database, creates the database, runs all the migrations, loads all the fixtures. Okay, so basically it resets everything back to what it should be. And then after that, if we go back to the make file, which is here, after that db test load, it does deep test backup, which does the docker exec db, and it dumps the database to the tests data dump.sql, which is in where are we? Tests data. It's that file there. So essentially what's happening with that error, as far as I'm aware, is that this is a migration old. This is a migration old. So when I do a rebuild again, it's going to invalidate the database schema. So I think what I need to do is run this command, db rebuild, and I need to do it from outside the container. So make db test rebuild. There we go. So it's now going to rebuild, run that file, drop the database, create the database, run all the migrations. I've deleted that migration that we did a diff on because it's the same as what we had before. Now it's purging the database, loading all the fixtures. Fingers crossed this all works because I've changed those. And then it's asking me to put in my password for the test data, which is just this. And there we go. So now if I do make tests, so that file should have been changed. Yeah, that dump file should have been changed. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that has done it. I have to do that every time I do a change to the DB, which is fine. I just keep forgetting to do it, and then the tests fail, and then I have to work out if it's actually a problem with the mapping. So fingers crossed, the mapping's fine, which it is. Good. Okay. Yeah, no, it's not. So the website itself isn't open, just because I want to make a business out of it. So, and for other reasons, security reasons and stuff. But I'm trying to split it up into smaller open source components, That's something that I would love to do, and I have been doing more often. So, for instance, let's come out of this. I was working on, what was I working on? The Markdown stuff. So with, if I go back to the composer file in here, sorry, yes. So I was working on this this thing here. So this isn't my package. This is someone else's package, and we have the blog is written in Ghost, and I needed to communicate from Symfony to Ghost and pull in all the blog posts, and then read all those blog posts into Redis. Anyway, I found this great package which I wanted to use. However, it wasn't. At the time, it didn't support. Was it a version of? There was something. It was some version of something that it didn't support. So anyway, I forked it, and I made my change, and then after that, I ported the change back over to this project. So in actual fact, so they bumped it up to v11. So in actual fact, I don't need that, to be fair. I can just run it straight from here. Let me see what the change was. I can't remember what it was. It was a few weeks ago. So yeah, I want to try and do things a bit more like that. You know, if there's a problem with, like, if there is a package that I'm using that that there's a little issue with, I wouldn't mind getting involved with the community a little bit. So I'll just load that up. Whoa, that's a huge browser, isn't it? Okay, so 16 days ago. There we go. It was Guzzle. It was Guzzle. This is the change I put in. So I was using Guzzle 7.2, and they were using Guzzle 6.1, and yeah, we were. Can I see the commit messages? Are you going to show me how? There we go. Peter Fisher, me, authored a change and committed this 16 days ago. So yeah, in actual fact, as that project has been tagged, I could probably just use this rather than my own forked version. Anywho, let's get back to it. There's a lot of issues here. Whoa. Okay, where are we at with this? So we've done the unit tests. That's all good. That's looking better. Then we've got your integration tests. So these are the database things, as I've mentioned. And I think, yeah, we've got a failure going on with the repositories. I bet this is the user thing that I haven't adjusted. Okay, there were 3 errors. First one is call to undefined get user. Yeah. Yep. And then there's a query here. Get has no associated name user. Okay, yep. On success must be a return string. Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. So this is actually pulling the authentication, doing an authentication test. Okay. So essentially what I did last night was I made it work from a front end point of view, but I didn't change my test to adapt to the change. Meaning that, well, if you treat a test like a specification, technical specification, when you're writing a test, you're essentially writing a technical specification, in my opinion. The specification last night changed without documenting that change. That's essentially what happened last night. Very naughty of me, but sometimes I find that testing is great to a point, but sometimes you just have to riff, you know? You just got to vibe and just write code and see what happens, see what sticks. I'm not worried too much about what you break, because you're just trying things out. You're throwing paint at the canvas and seeing how it looks, and then later on you start cleaning up the edges. So, I mean, TDD is great. Don't get me wrong, do TDD, but sometimes it's good to just sort of, you know, jam a little bit. As long as you pick up the pieces afterwards, which is what I'm doing in this stream. So call to undefined method here, get user, GitHub user, get user. So this is off of the repository test. So let's load that up. which is this one here. And we're running off of line 35. And here we go, get user. So what is this test doing? Testing for finding by an ID. So we grab the service, which is Doctrine. We get the repository, which is the GitHub user. We find a GitHub user and we find it by the login ID, which is our test login ID. That's in one of the test fixtures. We then check whether that is true, and then we check that we have the user with the same email address. Get off of this. I don't think that's going to fly, to be fair. No. So, okay, what I need to do at this point is get the GitHub user get ID. So this is the GitHub user ID. And then I need to get the repo, because I've disconnected GitHub from the user. It's the other way around, user to the GitHub. So this is user. There we go, user. So that is the user repo, right? And then we do user repo find one by. I actually remember writing this code last night in not a test form, but in a normal form. So at that point, I should have written a test for this. Okay, and we're passing in in fact, we don't need this. We can just pass in the GitHub user from this point of view. There we go. And so that becomes the user. And we are checking that the user is an instance of the user interface. And we're also ensuring that the user has that email address. So if we did user now down here, there we go. Okay, essentially it's just checking whether my fixtures are correct, but it's also checking the wiring of this. It's making sure that there is the GitHub user has a user associated to it, or the user has a GitHub user associated to it. Okay, I can also just run this test. Like I can just, I'm in the thing here, aren't I? So I can do bin console. Sorry. No, it's not that. It's code set. Run. And what is this? An integration. Is this an integration test? Yes, it is an integration test. Let me grab that because I need to define the suite. So here we go. Run integration test. And I've grouped all my tests, so I can run an individual test if I wanted to, or I could run a group of them. So I think it's -g, I can't remember, is equal to this. Is that right? Or do I need to not do the equal sign? I forget. Let's just try it without. Let's do that. Or is it -g? I don't know. This has worked. Okay, cool. So that's passed. And then the next one is... You scroll. So that one covers that off. And then this one here is finding by user. This is the repository test. This is a problem with the... Essentially, this is what I've just done, right? But this is doing it in the wrong way. Find by ID. Find by user. Here we go, down here. Yes, it's doing the same thing here. Yeah, I'm not sure if I need to retest that. That's fine because I've done it. GitHub user 1. Yeah. So I'm gonna just remove this because I've already dealt with that. So let's run that test. Whoops. Okay, there is an issue here. Find by user. We got a GitHub user has no association named user. At what point is that actually happening? Find one by user. Repo. Repo is the GitHub repo. Find one by user. Click on you. Okay, it's here. It's here, I believe. Yeah. So G is the alias for the GitHub user table. U is the alias for the user table, I think. Yeah, G user. So we need to where G on with UID is equal to GID, where GID.user, which doesn't exist, that's the issue, is equal to user ID. We need to change this over to be UID is equal to the user that we've supplied. Where have we supplied that? Here we are. In the set parameters, user ID is user. There we go. So we've just flipped the where clause. So let's run that test again. No. Okay, here we go. With UID is equal to error class GitHub user has no association named user. What? Oh, no, of course it's not. That where clause, that join isn't going to work. Ah. Yeah, that's not going to work. That needs to be rats. Okay, let me, gosh, it's too early in the morning to do a raw SQL call. Let me drink some tea, which is cold. Yuck. Okay, so it needs to be the other way around, right? So G user just doesn't exist anymore, so we can't do that. But we can do G ID is equal to join G user. No, the whole join thing isn't going to work. It's join user dot GitHub user. Git, is it hub user? Is that allowed? Is that how it works? I thought with the join you can supply the entity name. You can't know from. Let me see. I must have done this somewhere else. My mind is going blank here. Bear with me a second. My mind's it's gone a little bit blank as to what this needs to be. I just want to see what I've done with joins. Yes, I can put a pass in a class. I see now. Okay. All right. So let me deal with that. So this is user, right? So we're joining user to, and we're aliasing that as you. Conditioning of with. That makes sense. So this is going to be the GitHub user. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. And C is up here as the first alias. Okay, so that would be GID. That would be GitHub. Now, I'm not sure if this is the right way of hub user because I don't know whether that needs to be... I think that needs to be whatever the GitHub user. I think it needs to be in that case, not that case. This case, I think so. I suppose we'll find out in a minute. Let's go back here. Okay, so yeah, that is GitHub user. There we go. Is GID. So we're joining the user, aliasing as you. with the u.github user is equal to the ID of the current. So we're joining them together. Fine. Okay. Right. Now we're doing the where user, that needs to be u.user, doesn't make any sense, where uid is equal to user ID, and we set the parameter of user ID is equal to you. And then actually, let's just change, user. Yeah, okay. I think that might work. Let's just run it and see. I think that might work. Yes, it does. Sweet. Good. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's run the rest of them. I forget where we're at with everything. Actually, I can just scroll up, can't I? So it was this one we just fixed, and then there was this one, which is something to do with test O on or. Okay, so argument 1 passed to Symfony HTTP Foundation redirect response constructor must be a type of a string, but null has been given. Whoa, that doesn't sound good. This is when I fix all the tests and then I do a quick run through, and all the features that I've just added just don't work anymore, but the tests work. Okay, so let me. Hey, thank you very much, Strega, for a rating. Thank you. I hope you've all had a great stream. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining. Right, so it was in here, wasn't it? The test was failing due to the GitHub Authenticator. So essentially what I did last night is I did a lot of work around the social sign-in for GitHub. So when you log into howtocodewell.net, you can log in as GitHub. This is what the next piece of work is all going to be about for the end of this quarter. Anyway, last night I was doing a lot of work, but it wasn't tested. I wasn't running any of these audit tests, checking PHP stan or anything like that. So I'm just sort of fixing all the fail today. Fixing all the fail. GitHub user authenticator, line 175, right? 175. Okay, on redirect. Okay, so we're saying that this is returning null. Am I reading that right? Redirect must be a type of a string, but null is given. Target URL, generate. So is that lying to me? Why is that returning? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, wait. Let's see. Find usages of the base method, please. So it is nullable. Okay, it is nullable. So that is correct. It's this that we're complaining about. It's the test response. The test response in here. That's the thing. Argument 1 test to pass to Symfony redirect response must be type of string, but null is given on line 175. 175. The test here is a GitHub Authenticator test on line 363. Let's have a look at the test. That might allude more. Give me some more info. And it was line 163, wasn't it? This is where I'm mocking the thing. Oh, I wonder if it's one of my mocks that's just failed. We'll return a GitHub client. We'll return get the mock. Access token, GitHub resource. Sorry, I'm having just to step through this in my head. Router interface, that's the constructor arguments. Only methods. GitHub client will return a GitHub client. That seems fine. GitHub user authenticator get user. Line 363. I'm looking at the wrong thing, aren't I? I am literally looking at the wrong 363. Come on. I haven't had enough on authentication success. I haven't had enough caffeine today. So we instantiate a new request. We create the mock, which is the token interface. And we are making sure that this is asserting null. Why are we doing that? Oh, this is the on authentication success. Right, before, okay. So this is an example where my the specification has changed without documenting the tests. So, right, beforehand, what I was trying to do when I was working through this is I was trying to get the controller to deal with the authentication success. And if you do that, your Symfony guards need to return null at this point, because then that basically hands over to the controller. I'm doing it a different way now. Excuse me, I'm doing it a different way now, where the authentication success obviously doesn't return null. It returns a redirect response. So I think the problem is... where are the tests gone? I think the problem is this. I think this needs to return a response rather than null. I think that's correct, although it is saying that this is odd. Hang on a minute. On success, we get the request. It's the provider key. That's the request. We instantiate a new request. On success, get the router, front end. Is that the right thing? Just to make sure. Yes, it is. Okay, let me just tidy that up. That needs to be a redirect response. So if we go over to here, that needs to be assert instance of redirect response, and it is class. But the issue is that this isn't coming back with that. For some reason, the router, which I've... Oh, I see now. The GitHub authenticator hasn't been mocked properly with the root. That makes sense. Sorry, I'm going all over the place, aren't I? That would have failed anyway, because we were asserting null, so I needed to put that in. Okay, so if I was to run this again, for instance, it'll fail, right? So if I was to find what this is, and then run that down here, right? So it will still fail, right? It will still fail. But I think I've wrapped my head around why. It's because I think the router isn't wired up correctly. Yeah, which means that it's not actually going to generate the root. Lol. Yeah, because in here, what's happening is it's generating the root from the router off of this. But what I'm doing up in the tests, sorry, that went really small. Excuse me. This GitHub authenticator, if we jump up to wherever it's being built, so equals up in, is this the before here? We're passing in a router interface, and we're just mocking that out. So, which is just silly of me. What I need to do is, in here where we're passing in generate, we need to mock the generate root to something, which is a bit annoying, which is just a string. So it's just a string, I think. So yeah, we just need to mock that out. This root interface method generate, is that the right spelling for generate? In here, generate, right? will return a string of account. I think that's right. Now I'm not going to put expects in yet. I just want to make sure that this is what is the issue here. Yay! Awesome. Sorry, I've totally missed the comments. Let me go through them. Yeah, the stream cuts out when you raid, of course. Yeah, when I test things, bugs appear out of thin air. Yeah, well, I was working late last night, and I just like I said, I haven't tested this yet, so this is why we're getting all the failures. I think that's all of those. So let me just run all the tests once more, and we can move that down just to make a little bit of room. So this is going to do all the auditing and checking. Okay, so that's good. It's done PHP stan. That's happy. I could create a real router class, but then that's I would be testing the concrete class, and all I wanted to do in that test was ensure that the on authentication success was returning the right thing. I didn't really care about. I could have put any path in there, to be fair, in that mock. But yeah, I appreciate there is a lot of mocks there to do all that. Okay, so here we go. It's rebuilt the database, and it's going to go through all the unit tests. I would argue that the tests define the implementation, or the specification. I should have said they define the specification. So the specification on that one was the specification was that wasn't actually going to return null, as I had specified previously. It should have returned an instance of a redirect response. As to how I get the redirect response, I didn't care. I just wanted to ensure that on authentication success returned a redirect response rather than null as it was. Okay, so that's all the unit tests going through. Now it's doing all the integration tests going through. That's very true. Yeah, I have made the assumption that the generate route will always be called. But you see, if Symfony was to ever update and change that to be something else, then my tests would fail, and that would give me like an early warning that Symfony has changed and I need to alter my thing. So yeah, it is sort of testing the implementation, but oh dear, that's failed. That's failed. Whoops. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into why that is. Do we have sorry, let me sort this out. Why is it failing? Do we have, is Selenium up? Selenium is up. It's been up for a while. What's the errors? What are the errors here? Something about, I mean, it's running the stuff. It's just untrusted host app. Oh, right. Okay. Another thing I changed that I didn't. Another thing I changed that I didn't address. Okay. Yeah. This is in my. Yes, I did a bit of tidy up, and obviously I broke things when I did that. Okay, it's part of my environment variables. Bear with me a minute whilst I just fiddle about with that. It's looking for app, isn't it, as a container name, and app, I've removed that from my trusted hosts. I got that from somewhere up here. Nope. One of these errors had the trusted hosts issue. I'm sure of it. Here we go. App. Untrusted host. So if we go to, and I bet if I went to if I jumped into that container and did a tail of var log, dev log, we probably have untrusted host, untrusted host, untrusted host, untrusted host. Yeah, I reckon this is. You know what? I think this is the issue. Let me deal with that. So .envs. I've changed the trusted hosts because I was just trying to tidy things up, but I removed that by mistake. Right. Technically speaking, I should be able to just run the acceptance tests. Make test acceptance. Sorry, make test clean and then acceptance, which is what the normal make file would do. And then fingers crossed. Now I've put the trusted host as app into the environment variables. That will work. If it doesn't, I will have to rebuild the image or just rebuild the container. It might be that the environment variables haven't been passed through. Let's bring that back up. And just switch over to the logs. And I suppose I could also do I could exit this container and do make log critical. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a tick, which is good. So this is going to just tail dev log and then pipe that to grep of crit, which is going to return any critical errors. So no, but I'm confident that fix has worked actually. So we'll just let these go through the 9. So these you talking about these test times take a long time? Yeah, these are acceptance tests. So they're testing they're using Selenium to actually make a request to the front end and check the DOM. So the whole thing needs to load, and also with the acceptance tests, the database gets dropped and rebuilt each time because in some of these tests, it's actually making changes to the database, and I obviously want to ensure that there is something stable going on. So we've got unit tests that take like under a second. They're super quick because they're just testing the units. We have integration tests that are testing the connections between it's mostly to do with doctrine. So testing the doctrine managers, the doctrine repositories, checking the queries, right? So not actually checking a specific function. It's just it's testing the glue, I suppose, between that, and then we have acceptance tests that go on top, which is testing everything from like this is as though someone was clicking through. So these do take a long time, unfortunately. But there, like you said, there's only a few of them. There's only 9. So. Okay, so I have skipped 2, that's fine. Just some things I'm working on, but I think that's all passed. I'm going to just run the whole thing again from top down. just to ensure that everything is super, super cool. So PHP stan, and then it's doing a doctrine schema validate. So this will capture whether or not I've got problems with my DB schema. Perhaps I haven't ran a migration. I hit that earlier. Then it's clearing the cache. We also have another layer of tests above this, which is Cypress tests. So that it's doing more acceptance tests, but from using the JavaScript Cypress IO as a means of testing the front end. So here we go. These are all the unit tests. Boom. And then this would be the integration test. So this is checking for the database. This is making a call to a database, dropping it, rebuilding the database, and then making another call. So, creating things and checking that there's the right emails. I can save an email. Checking if the email address has already been taken and getting the response back. Doing various find bys to ensure that I can find by various things. This is checking the constructors are set up because Doctrine changed recently to use a different set of registries, and I didn't pick any of that up, so that's the tests that check those. And then this is testing the GitHub authentication. This is the stuff that we were playing with earlier. This is doing the user provider, so checking things like the supports mechanism. This is doing some validation. And then, so that's all database stuff. That's all boring DB stuff. And then here is the bigger acceptance tests where it's like, okay, load the whole thing from start to finish. It's an end-to-end, essentially. And hopefully, once all of this is done, I will do a couple of click-throughs on the front end, and hopefully, it's all good. Evil Minion, thank you very much for following. I hope you're well this morning. So, one of my plans is potentially to use something like Circle CI to do all of this in the background, right? So, when I'm working and developing on something, I don't want to be running this all the time because this is going to take time and this will grow in size. And to be fair, if I'm working on a particular piece of functionality which is isolated, I don't really care about all this stuff. I mean, I'll run it ever so often, like maybe once an evening, but I don't need to run this for every single little piece of code change. That would just be ridiculous. So anyway, I'm thinking of maybe using Jenkins or Circle CI to do this, to listen to changes that get merged to a particular branch, which means that I can get on and crack on with the actual development. And as I'm grouping the tests, I can test specific things as I'm developing. That's the idea. I think this is a bunch of deprecation warnings, which is fine. I will probably have to fix all of these by the time we push this up to Circle CI or Jenkins, or just see if there's a way of ignoring all of this stuff, because a lot of this is out of my hands, unfortunately. Things to do with codeception, not being correctly wired up to PHP unit. Yeah. Hey, Ternid, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, sir. Okay, so I think it's time for a click about. I mean, I've shown a load of code, but I haven't actually shown any kind of clicking about of things. So let's load up the website. Good. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well. We don't have any images here because we're running off of test data, which is fine. But the change I did last night, was my GitHub profile is PFWD, right? So that's who I'm logged in as. Whoop whoop. We have an organization which is How to Code Well, and this is the repo, the private repo that I'm working on as we speak. Now, what I've done is I've managed to wire up GitHub authentication to this website, so you can log in with GitHub. That's what I was playing with last night, and that's what I broke a lot of stuff, which we had fixed. What I want to do is just ensure that that it's still working, and if it's not, then it's obviously something I've screwed around with today. So this is the normal login screen. So eventually what we'll have is like a button or something here which says login with GitHub or something like that. This will take you to connect stroke GitHub. Now, I'm already logged in with GitHub at the moment, so it should bounce me to my account, I think. Maybe not. Let me see. Why did that? Did you fail to? Oh dear. Hang on a minute. Maybe not. Maybe not. Classic. Come on, think about it. Think about it. There we go. Okay, so obviously there's a little bit of wrinkly edges that I need to sort of deal with. I've got a feeling that it was a token that was expired or something that I need to just handle and pick up better. But we can see that we're now logged in. That's my PFWD account. So we're now logged in, which is great. So that is that's the first happy path to success. Obviously I need to handle those things. I'm going to just capture those in the bugs. So if we go to issues here, and I've added some issues for Q2. All right, so I've started scoping out what's going to happen in the second quarter of the year. But at the moment we're working on this one here, and we have these 3 things to do. So create a login button, which I've just mentioned. The profile, the email thing, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to capture those issues. After a user logs in, forward them to, yeah, okay, I'll talk about that in a second. So if we went to edit on here, it did. You know what? That was probably the best thing I've done, apart from take everything out of microservices. Putting it into Symfony is actually made me. I mean, I rebuilt the front. I rebuilt the whole site in Symfony in about 3 days. Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday, and the amount of struggle I was having with Gatsby, the amount of hours and effort I put in. But because it was static, you see, I could just lift everything. I could just do a lift and shift, put it into Twig, and away you go. And instead of using the APIs, I would just call directly to Doctrine. Wonderful stuff. And you've seen all the tests pass and everything, so it's all good. So now we are pushing forward rather than walking through treacle. I've freed myself up a little bit, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, Gatsby's lovely, React is nice, but there were just some issues I was having with creating a static site for this. It's a little bit too big, I think, for what I needed, and also there was a lot of architectural workarounds I needed to do because the front end was static and because I was using an API in the back end. Some workarounds that, looking back on it, are just silly, pointless, time-consuming workarounds. So yeah, no, I'm really happy that I've got this in Symfony. It was such a good move. Such a good move. Okay, whoops. So there was an issue here with the bad request, wasn't there? So if we logged out, I'll see if I can replicate that. I kind of need to find a pattern, don't I, of how that happens, of why that happens. So if we went to, it was connect and GitHub, because eventually I want to, well, I don't know, I might be connecting with other things. So if I click on here, am I going to fail? Is this going to fall over, or is it going to just straight log me in? Who knows? But yeah, okay, that's gone in. That wasn't helpful. That wasn't helpful. What happens then if I log out of here and log out of here? Let me just put something in here just to say handle API exceptions. So I want to redirect user back to login and log error. All right, so we're just going to put that in, and I'm going to log out of GitHub. I've never done this before. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work or if it's going to fail. So I'm going to sign out from GitHub, and we're going to now attempt to log in. Connect with GitHub. Aha. That's good. So now we've gone to here. You can see my test HTCW app. Okay, so let's sign in. Let me put in my verification code. I'm going to do this off screen. Bear with me a second. Let me get my stuff sorted. I totally forgot this was going to happen. Sorry. Two-factor authentication. It's very, very good. Okay, you can't see this, can you? No, cool. All right, let's verify that. Okay, so now we get this screen here. You are being redirected to the authorized app. And there we go. We're now logged in. Okay, so that's good, but it's bad because I wanted to replicate that issue. That issue that I have just seen. I don't really know how to get around that, to be honest, because I don't actually know how to replicate it. The only thing I can say is that the only thing I can think of is that the token was invalid, as in it had expired. So I wonder if there is a way that I can forcibly expire the token to ensure that I have a repeatable test there. I'm not sure. But I need to log in now, don't I, to capture everything. There we go. Okay, so the issue in issues here, in this one, so we need to do the button. The profile page I'll speak about in a minute. Handling the API exceptions. I guess this is the only thing. So redirect the user back to the login page, right? And then log the error is the only things I can do. I haven't seen it actually being a coding issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to log in. So my guess is that it's an expiry on a token, and I'm not handling that well. And in the case of an expiry of a token, then you would need to log in again, right? So, yeah. I think what happened was last night I was just left myself logged into GitHub, as you do, and then I came here this morning and I tried it again, and the token had expired, but I hadn't captured that issue. That's kind of what I'm kind of placing my bets on. Yeah, I mean the whole headless setup thing, Turnid, that was like, it was such a... I was a kid in a candy shop when I started. It was like, wow, this is great technology. And to be fair, the site is so quick. I mean, it's static. It's still up. If we go to the beta site, it's like crazy fast. Look at it. It's crazy fast. It's just bonkers. So I do miss that. I do miss how quick it all is. You know, that we also have the login side of this. So this is going to make the API call. So this is what I'm showing you. This is the beta site. So this is the private beta, which is live. If I went to like courses, for instance, I mean, look how quick this is. It's insane, isn't it? It's insane compared to the stuff that I've got locally. Yes, locally I'm working on in dev mode, but still I'll never get these kind of speeds. And also there is the security gain as well. For it all being static, there isn't like any kind of thing for you to sort of your attack surface is smaller, which is nice. Although there is a backend, there is an API, so you would still have to secure that, of course. So yeah, it's pros and cons. But I just think this site was getting a little bit too big for what a static site could offer. In terms of development as well. If I was working in a team, if there was a team of people, then I would probably still be working in a static way, because there'll be other people who can manage the various different complexities and workarounds that I would need to do because it was static, and I would still get the benefits of it being, really fast and secure. Also, hosting, bung it on Netlify, bung it on AWS Amplify, and away you go, Whereas this, I need to spin up a server. Oh yeah, so one thing I've done, which I was doing last weekend, actually, on Sunday, was we have a bunch of Terraform scripts. So I've been looking at alternatives to AWS as a means of hosting this, because I'm not locked into AWS anymore, in the sense that I'm not using AWS Amplify. It needs to be on a server, VPS somewhere. So I'm choosing against going with AWS. I'm choosing to use something else. The cost of how to code well is getting quite expensive on a monthly basis for all the things that we've got going, which isn't a lot, to be fair, but for all the various different bits and pieces that run in the background, the cost for AWS is getting to a point where I'm starting to look at alternatives. And anyway, so I've got Linode. I'm just trying out Linode at the moment. So we've got some, which I've used Linode in the past before. They're great. Linode's brilliant. Highly recommend. So I'm just playing with that. So this is how I will tear up and tear down the containers. We have modules in here. So we've got, I can show you this. This is fine. Main.tf. So it's spinning up a Linode instance, which is the beta site, passing in the SSH keys, running some various bits and pieces to update everything. And then once the infrastructure is set up, we then have, once the hardware is spun up, we then have Ansible. This is another thing that I was playing with over the weekend. So once that's done, I would run the playbook, and the playbook will, I don't think I've got anything crazy in here that I shouldn't be showing. I mean, spin this up and spin this down. Yeah, so what this does is it connects to the VPS that I've spun up on Linode through Terraform, and then it upgrades the packages. It installs a bunch of stuff, including Python Docker. It then logs into the Docker registry, because there's another thing here. We now have the website is now going through a private Docker Hub thing, so I've got that. So every time I push to the develop rebuild branch, it builds an instance. It builds an image, which I can pull down. Then we connect the network on the server. We build the network. Then we deal with some various bits and pieces to do with the directory structures. We copy over Docker Compose, which is the beta Docker Compose, and then we copy over the environment variables, and then that's as far as I've got. But the next step would be to do Docker Compose up, to spin that up. But that's kind of where I got to over the weekend. So that's kind of happening in the background. That's kind of happening in the background. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I mean, I know this isn't perfect. I was just literally throwing things at the wall and seeing if things stuck. So I know that this isn't the right way to do this. I know that I need to create roles and everything to do this, but I was just throwing things at the air and seeing what flew. To be fair, I know it's not perfect. Same with this stuff. I know that this isn't great. I know that I need to deal with like changing the user from root to something else, you know. But as soon as I got it up, I span it down. I just wanted to make sure that I had the ability there to create a VPS. There'll be a whole part around dealing with security and hardening up the VPS using things like SSH configs, putting on IP tables, fail to ban, all of that jazz will happen eventually. So the IP will be changing like every time I spin it up and spin it down. And then once I'm happy with it, what I'll do is I'll switch the beta site over to the new beta VPS and upload all of this stuff. And then hopefully we'll be plain sailing. It'll be good. Plain sailing. Who am I kidding? None of this has been simple. Yeah, that's true. Maybe on GitHub I could create an expired token. That's a good idea. That's a good shout. It's really difficult to test the GitHub integration because you're handling OAuth 2, and you're handling another API. So you've got to kind of mock that. I haven't actually seen Lightsail. No, I haven't seen Lightsail. I don't actually know what it is. I don't know. There's a little part of me that wants to just put the middle finger up at AWS, to be fair. I find AWS very difficult with pricing. It's very difficult to know how much you're actually going to be charged on a monthly basis. And as I guess you could class me as a very small startup, how to code well on this, it's very tricky to allocate funds to this. So, whereas if you've got a VPS, you know what the monthly fee is going to be. And you know that it's going to be less than that if you keep spinning it down. Whereas there isn't there's AWS cost calculators and everything, but the thing is, as soon as you use one AWS service, you use another one, and then you use another one, and before you know it, you've got 5 different services, and you don't actually know where the costs are being filtered from. And also, I find I'm having to do things in AWS just to cut the costs down. Again, it comes back to it's just me. If there was a team of people, I could probably say to someone, look, this service in AWS is costing me so much money. Can you spend a day's work just to see if there is something else or a way that we could do it more efficiently to bring the costs down? I just don't have that ability to do that at the moment. One thing I failed on last year was I was just falling down so many rabbit holes, as Tyranid knows, that I was doing things that were falling well outside the scope of what I was initially wanting to achieve, which is why the site isn't live yet in the way it is. What have we got? 8:20. Okay, we got a few minutes. So okay. So around the emails, this is an interesting issue here. So last night when I actually did this and I got the things connected together, which was nice, I discovered that for some reason on my I don't know how I managed it. In GitHub, I don't actually have an email address associated to my GitHub profile. I don't know how I've managed it. I don't even know if that's allowed. But it brings a bit of an edge case to how to code well, because now I've logged in without an email address. I've just logged in with a user. So there isn't any way that there isn't a way to associate this account with a known account that's on the system. The problem with dealing with social logins and logging in from various different places is that you have to consider the case that the user may have already created an account before with the email address that is associated to the social account that they've logged in from. But in the case where there isn't an email address, that's why I've got this if empty jobby up here. Where are we? Yeah, somewhere up here. Yeah, if empty. If isn't empty. So this brings up a little bit of a challenge. So when you've logged in without an email address, I would like this system to detect that, and I would like it to be forwarded on to the profile page, to the profile section, where a request for the user to update their email address and their details, because it's going to be very tricky for people to. I just think we're going to get into some hot water down the road when people want to merge accounts. That's going to get really, really painful. As you can see, the profile section hasn't actually been built yet. So that's something that I need to do, which is what this is about. So create the profile update page. So essentially this page is just going to be, this page is just going to be like a form, essentially. Email address, first name, last name, that kind of stuff. Maybe, do you want to sign up for the newsletter, tick box thing? I don't know, I haven't really thought through as to the look and feel of this, but the MVP is that it just needs the email address for you to update. And I'm unsure yet as to if I need to prevent people from actually doing anything until the email address has been associated. Because you see, at this point, I still don't know whether there is, if the user puts in an email address of an account that is already registered, and I need to cope with that sort of thing. And if based on that edge case, what would happen if I thought through it is that we would need to capture that. So if you've just logged in through GitHub and you don't have an email address that has been passed in through the GitHub thing, and you provide an email address of an account that already exists on the system, then we simply can't make two accounts. That's not the right thing to do. What I would need to do is request the user to delete or to deactivate their account in which they've logged in via GitHub, and log in via their normal account and associate that normal account with GitHub. So there's a couple of steps a couple more hoops that I need to build out here. One is to do this email thing. The next one is to have the ability to link and unlink an existing account to GitHub. Because at the moment we've just done it so you log in and there you go. We need to do it so you've logged in with a normal account and you want to link your GitHub account to it, so then you can log in with your GitHub account in the future. So there's various different edge cases to work through. And this edge case of me not having an email address is, I didn't even realize I couldn't have an email. I didn't need an email address on GitHub. I don't know how I've managed to do it, but I need to cope with that situation. Yeah. Okay. Whilst in the last few minutes, I'm gonna just check the others. So after login, forward them to the profile page. I'm gonna just put in a little bit more context in here. And ensure email is supplied. Okay. Cool. Okay, in the last few minutes of this stream, I'm gonna, because I'm a PHP contractor, so I need to crack on with the rest of my day in a minute, which has got nothing to do with this. But before I go, I want to talk about the code challenges, the most recent code challenges, if I may. So on How to Code Well on the Sunday stream, because we stream Tuesday mornings today and Sunday afternoons at 14:30 GMT, time zone GMT. At the end of each month, we do a challenge. So I put out a challenge, and people can submit their challenges. Excuse me. They submit them to the Discord server, and then I review their code at the end of the month. It's nothing massively serious. It's just a bit of fun. It's just a bit of learning. This month is a little bit different. We actually started this a while ago, but due to other commitments, I wasn't able to do it. So we pushed it to the March the 28th, which is the last Sunday of March. And this one is about PHP OOP quiz. It's different to the other ones because this is a quiz, not an actual thing where, go off and build a project, which we've done before. In the previous challenges, we've had people building JavaScript games, for instance, or doing some regex testing, or doing some other bits and pieces with PHP or Python. In this case, it's just a quiz. So this quiz is geared around interview-style questions. So questions that you may get during an interview, maybe a face-to-face interview or a Zoom interview. So test your PHP knowledge with these interview-style questions. Some questions require a yes or no answer, and others require a code example. Please use Markdown to write your answers and read the code submission details. Your code will be reviewed on Twitch on March the 28th. So essentially, if you could just create a Markdown file, if you create a GitHub repository with a Markdown file, and have the questions as like the headings, and then you put in your answers below. So question 1, is multiple inheritance supported in PHP? Yes or no? I'll quickly go through these. Question 2 is explain the difference between a class and an object, and I suppose what I should do before I continue is actually put this in the chat. There you go. Okay, so explain the difference between a class and an object. Question 3 is demonstrate the singleton pattern. Question 4 is explain why the singleton pattern is sometimes considered an anti-pattern. Question 5 is explain what an abstract class does. Question 6 is can an abstract class extend another abstract class, yes or no? Question 7 is can a PHP interface extend another interface, yes or no? Question 8, how many interfaces can a PHP class implement? Question number 9 is explain when you should use an interface instead of an abstract class. And question 10 is explain the output of the following code. So you've got two classes here. One is a final base class. It's called base class, final class. It has a public function, which is test, and the test function returns, or test method, I should say, returns base class : test parentheses called. Okay, so it returns a string. You've got a child class here, which isn't final, and it extends the base class. And we then have in our global scope here, we have a variable called obj, which is assign the value of the instantiation of a new child class, so a new one of these. And we've got a variable called output, and that is assigned the value that is returned from obj, which is this child class, test method, which is this test method because we're extending the base class, and we're echoing that out, echo output. Now, the question is, explain the output of the following code. So explain why the output is as it is. It's a bit of a, this one's you might see this as a bit of a trick question. My advice is to just read the questions more than once, more than 3 times. Just keep reading them. Some of these questions are the questions that I've been asked when I've had PHP interviews in the past, especially around the singletons. So why is a singleton pattern sometimes considered an anti-pattern? In some cases, I've been asked things like, explain the difference of when I would use an interface and an abstract class. Yeah, but it's, it's totally unserious. You don't have to do all the questions, just the questions that you want to do. I'm not going to mark you down or up or anything like that. It's all good. It's just a bit of fun, to be fair. So yeah, if you want to join, then do join our Discord server. If I go to the Nightbot has already done it. Oh, thank you very much, Tyrnid. So yeah, howtocodeWell.net/Discord. It's totally free to join. And there is the Coding Challenges channel. Say that enough times when you're drunk. Coding Challenges channel there, where you submit your GitHub repository, and then I'll pick that up. There is also a coding help channel there for any coding help needs that you've got. But one thing I will ask is, if you've got any coding questions, please, there is a subdomain that I've got going, which is howtoaskaquestion. .howtocodewell.net, and that will show you how, or explain how to do code formatting. The amount of questions that I get on YouTube, on youtube.com/howtocodewell, which is all the tutorials, the amount of questions that I get via YouTube where people are submitting code, which is fine, it's just YouTube doesn't format the code comments. There's no syntax highlighting there. The YouTube comment is not a place to put a code question, to be fair, honest. So if you could format your code, your questions in there, that'd be great. That'll help everyone out. That'd be awesome. So there you go. That is the challenge. Right, I'm going to shoot off. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I'm actually working on a lot of Elasticsearch, so nothing to do with any of this, as always. But thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining. I do appreciate it. I really do. Thank you very much as well, Strager, for doing the raid. That was great. I really appreciated that too. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care, look after each other, and stay safe. And I'll see you again. Well, I'm doing a podcast live on YouTube on Thursday evening at 8 GMT. On Thursday. So if you're about on YouTube, youtube.com/howtocodewell, then I will speak to you then. If not, I will see you on Sunday at 14:30. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.